I want to bring in political strategist Yaron Finkelstein now, who served as advisor to Scott Morrison during his prime ministership. Yaron, thanks so much for your time. If only everything was merit-based, right?
That's right. That's very, very true. But it isn't. It's not how the world works. Yeah. But if you're talking about quotas, I mean, everyone's grappling with this issue, really, aren't they? So you see it everywhere.
Yeah, you do, but particularly in the Liberal Party. I mean, one final big insult for the Liberals, losing Bradfield now to a teal. I mean, it was tight. It was 26, 27 votes in it in the end. But what does that tell you about the diminished Liberal Party as it stands at the moment?
Well, firstly, I don't think that particular story is over. I see a lot of people seeing grounds for it to go to the Court of Disputed Returns.
Oh, do you think it will be challenged?
Up and down. There were 2 counts. I don't see any reason why it shouldn't, actually, and I wouldn't be surprised. Remember, there were 2 counts. The first count had the Liberal ahead, and then there was a second count, and then the teal is ahead. So I think you'll find that there are people who would be very interested in seeing that tested properly. So let's see where that one goes.
But to your bigger question have the money to do it?
About
that's the other question.
Well, they have the lawyers. Who might do it pro bono. That's one thing we do know. So let's see where that goes. Yeah, that's right. But look, Bradfield is one of those seats. It used to be the seat that delivered the largest margin for the Liberal Party. I had the distinct pleasure of being the campaign director in that seat in, I think it was 2001. So I know the seat very well, and it always had a lot of what might be described as Australian Democrats voters. There was always a lean that way. Right. But back then, I think I was embarrassed that we went from something like a margin of 21% to 20%. So things have changed. That margin has eroded over time. Is it any different to the rest of the result that the coalition faced at this election? Not really. It's another seat. It just still signals this extraordinary challenge that the party has, and it needs to overcome that. And it's stepping through those changes it needs to do, step by step.
It's not just another seat, though, is it? Bradfield represents what the Liberal Party's massive donor base used to be as well, along with Wentworth, some of those Northern Beaches seats, as well as, Kooyong in Victoria. And that's the existential problem for the Liberal Party, isn't it?
It's a fair point. There is this concentration of the strongest supporters in those safer seats. I suspect in some ways that happens with the Labor Party as well. In their safer seats, they'd have perhaps the largest branches, etc. Yeah. So you're right. It cuts deeply into the institutional capacity of the party. But there are people who are very committed to making sure that whatever the party becomes, they're part of. There isn't actually this sense of exodus from those people you talk about, the donors, the supporters. They realise that if they're going to fix the party, they want to be part of it. So there's still that opportunity for them to make a contribution, and that's really where the Leader of the Opposition has that role to play, to give them hope that the reforms that will be undertaken, the reviews that will focus on what's wrong, will deliver something that those supporters you talk about have something to attach themselves to.
Yeah, there's just a real disconnect between what the party appears to represent and what their base wants. I mean, there's obviously a disconnect there when you look at the results of the last election. I don't want to be flippant about Alan Stockdale's comments either, because we can all make, intemperate comments from time to time. But the point is that there's something deeper going on there. And the Liberal Party, for all their talk about merit, nothing's merit-based. The branches aren't merit-based in their... it might be semi-democratic, but there certainly doesn't seem to be merit-based. I mean, Gisele Kapterian in Bradfield is a really great candidate. She got there in the end. It was hard fought. But, I mean, Alan Stockdale's comments go to this point, that perhaps some in the Liberal Party just still don't get it when it comes to women and what women in the party represent in terms of the voting public. Now, not one homogenous group. We're not all just voting along, gendered lines or anything like that. But also there seems to be this annoyance among men that they're being overlooked, that they're not being they're not being appointed on merit either, because there seems to be some kind of quasi-quota system going on. What is going on in the branches? What is going on at the structural level?
Yeah. Well, it affects. Let's firstly deal with Alan Stockdale's comments. It's a lesson for anyone. I think you're funny, Laura, and sometimes I can be funny too. But there's a time and a place for jokes, and he's now learned a lesson.
Was he making a joke? Was he? Because that wasn't clear in the reporting. I don't know.
Look, no, in the reporting it's not, but not to let that through. It doesn't matter. He may have meant it as a joke, but there's no room for a joke. These are actually very serious issues about the role of women in a modern Liberal Party. So no jokes. Let's move on from that. Both parties, Labor and Liberal, have had to deal with these notions of how do we better reflect the community, society, and the Liberal Party is now grappling with it in a very deep way. There is a disconnect for all the parties between their base and the broader voter community, and they all have to come to grips with that. Your membership probably has very different, not very different, but certainly more concentrated views about certain policies than the people you seek a vote from. And the party now has to understand that if it only reflects its membership, then it will not win votes. The same happens with Labor as well. So they've got a lot of work to do to refashion the party in a way that better reflects what Australia is in 2025.
Yaron, it's always good to speak to you. You're very wise. I think you're funny too. I'm funnier off air, and there's a reason for that probably too. We'll catch up with you soon.
Very true, Laura. Good to chat.